The concept of writing is very, very interesting. It makes sense because it's like documentation of things that people are doing or have done. But it's kind of a weird concept. Like, to be honest, so someone was like, what if I etch into this? I don't actually know the legit history of writing. That actually might be very interesting to find out. If I find it out, I'll let you know. But, like, in my head, it's like someone decided, what if I just, like, carve into this thing? Oh, look at that. And we could tell the story over and over again in the same way. And, like, nothing will ever get misconstrued. That would be great. I don't know if they put that much thought into it, but, like, that's kind of true. You write things down in order to make sure that they are remembered. Like, why do we make lists, right? We make lists so we can remember the things that we need to do, the things we need to get, the things we need to say. Like, I have made lists for when I need to have a difficult conversation. I usually will make lists if I know what I need to talk about, because I know that in the moment I'll forget. So I can go down the list and make sure that I hit everything that I know I've been meaning to talk about. And then, like with the doctors, making sure, because I'll go see the doctor and I'll just tell them whatever I'm feeling at the time. And, I have chronic illnesses, so some days are better than others. And if it's one of the better days that I have to be seeing my doctor, well, the world's not falling apart. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty okay. And then I'll leave and I'm like, oh, I forgot that this, and this happens to me. Well, maybe I should remember that. So write it down to record it. And that's just lists. Some people write to send a message. So, like, writing to, like, send a love letter, send like, a war notice. I mean, a lot of things in history happened and progressed because of war and because of hatred. It's a very, very strong emotion. So I can imagine that, like, what if one of the first letters, I would guess that one of the first letters was either a love letter or a hate message, because we all know hate mail, for some reason people want to send that, and I have a feeling it's been that way forever. I have no clue, really. I haven't looked into it. I'm having some random thoughts today. And, like, with writing, so that's, like, all these normal things. Like, yes, you want to communicate. This is, like, before phones. And, like, even now, we still communicate through writing. And we want to make sure everything's done in writing, because people can misremember, missay. And so, like, people, like, in the court of law, it is important that people have written documentation and everything that you say, and everything that you've done, everything that you agree to, because verbal agreements are bogus and terrible. And honestly, I feel like I do get why they count as agreements, but at the same time, everything should be in writing, because I can barely remember what I did, like, yesterday. So, like, how can you remember all of the details of the things that you agreed to? Like, just written documentation makes sense. And then, like, all of that makes sense. But then we get to the concept of storytelling and fiction, where someone decided to make up a story, like, completely make something up at one point, and then tell it. It used to be spoken, like, a lot of myths used to be spoken, and whether they were true or not, we don't know. Things have been lost to history. But, like, Norse mythology was originally spoken only until they started drawing some pictures for it. So that's a form of writing and a form of storytelling. It's the drawing of the pictures, like comics. But within that, they got their first written documentation when the Christians took them over, and so it's through, like, more of a Christian lens, even though it is still Norse mythology. And which is, I don't know, very tangent aside, someone somewhere wrote the first story, the first fictional story, where we don't wrote this down, and then I gave it to people, and then they all can read it and get super invested in my characters and stuff, to the point of addiction. We all know, us readers, we know it's addictive. It's wonderful and terrible and amazing. I mean, now with consumer media, like even reality shows that aren't really real, sorry to burst your bubble if you think they're legit, but they're almost all at least staged in some way. They might be improv, but still, there's a certain level to fiction to a lot of the media out there these days, which is why I know a lot of people value authenticity, especially on platforms here like YouTube, where people aren't exactly acting, unless like that's the point of their channel, but are just like being them and whatever. I know that has become like a big thing recently, like in recent years, especially just because like even with AI and like all this fake media that is being made that looks super realistic. I don't even remember the point of the video now. Writing. So someone decided to write a story and give it to people. And I don't know, I think that is just a super fun concept. I mean, the act of writing makes sense, okay? So like I know I said writing is weird, but writing fiction is a very interesting concept because we tell stories through these fake made up characters that then feel so real to us that they almost feel like real people and real experiences that people have had. And this is now even not just in writing stories, like writing a book, it's like the most common way, especially before like movies and things, but now like same thing with movies, like the script was written and people like read that out loud and perform it for you. So it's like a very real and visceral version of what I'm talking about. But it's a very, very interesting concept because someone just thought of this, and then other people thought of this and decided and started coming with their own worlds. And someone was the first of all these things, and now there's just a huge saturation of content that people are like still trying to write fiction actively, and even more so because there's so much fiction out there that there's something for everyone to connect to. And once someone connects to it and wants to be a writer, then wants to write something that they then can connect to and find people that will then connect to it. So it's a very interlocked kind of thing and has become almost like this really large net over the world where people are just trying to consume all of these stories. And if you've never read Omniscient Reader, oh my gosh, it is such like a good depiction of what it is to like live out a story and like to leave stories behind and stuff like that. It's a really good read. It's on Webtoons, and I know it just got a movie. Movie was pretty good. I did go see that. But like that concept of taking in stories and everything, like it's just so interesting to me. That's a thing. And then like even as a writer, sometimes I get so invested in my own stories that I'm writing, and then I'm sitting there like, why am I so invested in this? Like I could be out there living my real life. And I'm like, well, I don't know. I have this urge to create these characters and tell these stories and also put these messages in these stories in order to teach people things that I've learned, or tell these stories because I feel like it helps my mental health, because disassociating and putting these things onto another character and seeing someone else live them out and giving them advice and having a character arc, I feel like helps me with my own life and my own character arc. Like, I think I released a video already on 24 and Never Dated, but she's probably like the closest character to me now. I used to self-insert a lot, but I've kind of stepped away from that even when I'm rewriting. There's still elements of me because we can't get away from that when we write people. Also, people are just so complex that you can always find a little bit of something of yourself in something. But she's the closest to me because the point of the story was to use it as like a form of therapy for myself to write out, because journaling and writing my raw emotions never worked for me. Writing poetry did, and because it's not as close, it's like getting scared of writing out my real raw feelings, to where it's way easier to just write it in a more abstract, rhymey, usually interesting, metaphorical way. And in that same concept, even though I'm not using like a lot of metaphors, I'm using dialogue and scenarios and new characters. It's that same kind of concept where I can get it across on the page, the things that I'm going through and the things that I deal with, and trying to figure out the answers that are just beyond me through these characters, because I don't want to go through it myself. Wow, this is a very deep conversation. But anyway, like, it's a very interesting concept, and it's not like I do that with all my stories. Like my sci-fi series, I literally wrote, for one of the other reasons I was saying, was I just connected so much to, like, I just fell in love with the movies, and it made me want to create my own character, live inside of it, and and then I went, Star Wars kind of sucks in a lot of areas, and I was like, I feel like I could try to do this better. And that's kind of where it came from, like with the I Hate Heroes one. If you watch that, I was just like I think I could do this. I think I could do this better, or at least like the things that I don't like about it, fix them, and that be the point, if that makes sense. So, yeah, like that urge to write is so interesting, because there's some people who have an urge to write but no story to tell, and some people have a story to tell but no urge to write, and then there's people who have both. I have to say I have both, because I actually enjoy writing, and I also enjoy coming up with the stories. So I just don't have a lot of time to write these days. Hopefully I'll get some more, but like, I still am coming up with these stories, and telling them verbally has been pretty fun. Hopefully I can get more into depth soon. Just overviewing most things right now. But yeah, the concept of writing is a funny thing. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Bye.